got one debutant in Nick Murray now. What sort of role do you put him on? Key back role, obviously.
Yeah, he'll have a big role, I would have thought. But Nick coming in, is great for the footy club. Great for Nick, who probably missed the last week due to an ankle injury. So we were confident if he could get his body right that he'd be knocking on the door. And unfortunately for one of our players, that is the opportunity for the other. And so Nick will step up and play this week, which is great because it's New South Wales. Good chance to get his family over, and it's an exciting time for him and for the rest of the boys. Yeah, similar. He'll play a key position down back, depending on how Sydney decide to select their side. And if Buddy comes in, we'll have some decisions to make around our matchups back there.
How did you take it? A lot of boys up and out.
They enjoyed.
How did he take it when he got the news?
I know he's one that doesn't hide his emotion. He's a good lad, so he enjoyed it. The boys got around him. Probably took him by surprise straight after training. We like to let him know as soon as we can, but that could be an interesting video, that one.
How's Jake going? How is he going?
Jake's going well. Yeah, he's recovered well. Probably 48 hours. He struggled for, but he's really recovered well now. Had a couple of sessions with the group, so he's well on his way to get through protocols and the 12-day period. And it's good to see him up and about.
How did you assess the tribunal outcome of 3 matches for danger for that?
Probably best not for me to comment on.
In terms of, we've heard other coaches talk to their players about how they approach those sort of circumstances. Matt McKinnon and Leon Cameron said they prefer their players not to bump. Have you sort of instructed your guys to be wary of that and perhaps embrace a tackle or a bump?
Yeah, we've done a fair bit of work on that, and that's been in the game now for enough time where it's a really tough situation though, and it happens in split seconds. But the head's been protected for a long time now. It's not new, and if you take that risk of bumping, then you are risking the fact that you may make contact with the head. So we've done a lot of work on how to approach those situations. But as I said, it's not as clear as what it looks on a video when you slow it down. So it's a challenge for the players. I know everyone's working through it, and there's an understanding that we're there to protect each other and look after each other. And then you have a coach yelling at you as well and saying put pressure on the opposition and bring heat. I feel for the players that it's hard, but I also think most players nowadays in that scenario will look at tackling.
In that case, could you make you guys a little bit of sympathy then for danger? I suppose when you talk about it's a split second and he has to protect himself as well. Obviously there's no malice involved. The coaches see it like that, heading towards the player that makes the contact.
I feel for all the players in some of the rules, some of the things that challenge them at the moment. But that's the game. The game's a fast game. It's part of the challenge of being an AFL footballer is being able to read the game quickly and then adjust in split seconds.
How's Hinge going at the moment in terms of his recovery?
Yeah, Hinge is probably one that the shoulder popped out a couple of times on the weekend. We'll make a decision pretty soon on the future as far as the short term, whether we decide to operate or whether he decides to see the season out. And that's a big decision for him. He's got a couple of years left that we know the impact he showed on the weekend, that he can definitely play at the level, and we look forward to what he brings for us. If he decides to go and have that operation done, we'll be well and truly working with him to get back and perform late this year, if not into next year.
And he's contracted until the end of next year, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Yeah, he's got some security there, and he's got our backing as well. We brought him over because we really like who he is and the way he plays his footy, and he showed glimpses of that on the weekend for the short period. And probably the part that stood out the most was the fact that he stayed out there for his teammates. And this is where you pop a shoulder out. For those who have ever had a shoulder go out, it's not easy at the best times, let alone then playing football after it. And he's done that 2 or 3 times in a game. So highest of character. We'll support him from here, whichever way he decides to go, and then look forward to possibly next year seeing him again.
I know you work very hard. The group will make sure they don't get ahead of themselves, but there's been so much external about how good that performance was. How hard for you to work to make sure it's one game. You've got to enjoy it. Next week.
I haven't had to work that hard because I've got some experienced heads around the place. Rory's one. Straight after the game, let's enjoy this, but at the same time, let's move on. We've got Sydney next week, and I think you have to enjoy a win like that. You have to embrace the fact that we played at the level we wanted to play at. We saw the brand of footy that we want to put out week in, week out. In saying that, that is what we're after, consistency of performance. And so we've played one. We enjoyed that win. We saw what it was we want to show to our members and supporters. Now we've got to back it up. And that'll be the challenge with a young group, going forward, is that consistency of performance. We travel away this week, hostile environment against a very good young side in Sydney. So the challenge is there for us again, and that's what we looked at that Monday afternoon. As soon as we moved on and from the review, we went straight on to Sydney.
And we haven't seen it for a while, but the Buddy Franklin factor is always learning much.
Yeah, it's good for the game. Buddy back. I mean, he's a great player to watch. Hopefully that's not the case this weekend. But it is good to see players like him back in the game, and hopefully it takes 1 or 2 weeks to warm up.
Jordan gets first crack most likely.
Oh, we'll still have to talk through that. Yeah.
3 backs out by the looks of things. Maybe one's coming in. Can you shed any light on who else might be coming into that back 6 or 7?
D-Mac will play. Yeah, so D-Mac's really an experienced player. Played last week, led the Sandful side. Really got them going in the last quarter. We know what he'll bring, and he'll come in for Brownie, which is really like for like. D-Mac probably offers a fair bit of run off half back, and something we feel we need. The game seems to have opened up a little bit. I think that'll suit him. So it'll be great to have him back on board. But as far as the other change goes, that's our medical sub. So we'll have a look at that. I won't give that away just yet on who we bring into that spot.
That comment Dean said the game seems to have opened up a little bit. Is it gone the way you expected, or are you still having to adjust yourself and maybe follow with that?
Yeah, it's hard to get a gauge just yet on where the game's going, where it's at. And it's the same. I think you can talk about where sides are at as well. It's been a shorter off-season, shorter pre-season for a lot of clubs coming back post-Christmas. So, just seeing the level of where clubs are at the moment, it's really tough to get a gauge on exactly where some clubs are at, but also the game. Get an idea of, there have been games that have been high scoring, up and back, and there have been some games that have been slightly lower scoring. So I think it's going to take a month or so before we see some of that play its way through, and we get some ideas, some trends. But we felt like one thing we saw a standout was the fatigue that was there late in quarters, especially in the second half, and whether there's some need to sort of manage the group through. 75 rotations. I think we nailed it spot on by the end, and that was quite interesting. Seeing our guys trying to hang on and cramping up, but that seemed to be across the board from most sides.
You heard Matt Crouch saying on the tally last night that he's struggling to run. Is there any more concern about him than there has been previously? Are you exploring any other ways to get him back on the pike, perhaps?
Yeah, look, we're looking at everything we possibly can for Matty. It's more a power thing for him at the moment, not so much unable to run. It's more about feeling the power that he needs to play at the highest level. He probably felt in the last game, that he wasn't quite at his best, and that's frustrating for a player of his calibre, because he requires that power and that strength, to play inside on the footy. So at the moment we're working and doing whatever we can to get his confidence back, to get his body where it needs to be, and we won't rush that. For Matty, he's done so much for the footy club. He's shown he can play at the highest level. We want to make sure he can continue to do that going forward.
Is the best way for him to get back just a management, or will you need any other sort of medical intervention at some point?
No, we've got a really good medical group that we feel are working with him at the moment, and it may be just a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. We've got to remember he's come off a hip surgery, so that challenges the body in a number of different ways that I don't know about the detail, but our guys definitely do. And when I'm talking about high performance, we've got some really good people in that space. And it's hard because players get frustrated. They want to be out there, they want to play, they're competitive beasts, and Matty's no exception to that. So, although he's frustrated, we know with a little bit of patience we'll get him right and we'll get him back out there on the park.
Joshie Worrell around the mark for a game sometime soon, is he?
Yeah, he is. He's very observant. He's, we'll name him in the emergencies this week, and he's quite close. He's around the mark. He's playing some pretty good footy at that lower level, at Sandford level. On the weekend I thought our guys struggled in that game and our backs were under pressure, and Joshie stood up. He's really growing and becoming a pretty solid footballer. So at some point he'll get his opportunity. That was probably the most pleasing thing about the weekend, was to see, post the game, I saw the vision of our group, the younger guys up in the stand, just the passion they showed and the enjoyment. It's such a good sign for our group, because our squad's the most important part. It's likely that most teams play 28 to 35 players during the season, depending on where you finish, and we're going to need those guys to be ready to go. Joshie's definitely one of those who's around the mark at the moment.
Maybe just on Danny Carr, you're hopeful that he might be back next week.
Yeah, we were hopeful for this week, and we've just put that one on hold for one more week for Tales, and he feels really good and strong around the knee, and what comes with that is a little bit of some soreness in his foot and other areas, just because he hasn't been using those parts. So for Tales, it's patience. I think he's enjoying watching some of the young guys that he's working with at the moment perform well. But yeah, hopefully next week we get a look at Tales.
I know you spoke about Brown and Kelly, but hopefully just one for each as well.
Well, yeah, the way that ball's progressing, we'd be really confident in that one. And Brownie was a bit touch and go. We didn't want to push it for this week. It was an Achilles issue that he's had a little bit of trouble with in the past. It just didn't quite get right. So we'll give him the week to freshen him up, and hopefully he'll be good to go as well.
Have you seen anything from Foley, Jones or Mackesy that gave you any confidence in that trial game? And have you sort of 3 private recruits way out of the team?
Yeah, they're never way out. And we'll find that out shortly. But from Fogg's point of view, we're getting him a chance up around the footy at the moment, and he's showing what he can do around there. So he continues to work on his game, and he's never that far away. I mean, it's hard when you compare it and you see where Tex Walker's at the moment. Tex is playing some really good footy, and Fogg's fighting for one of those spots. So as I said before, we'll play 30 odd this year. Those guys will be really important, and we'll need those guys moving forward. They'll just keep working on their game, and they'll be ready to go when they're called upon.
Chase as well?
Similar for Chase, yep, spot on. And with Fish, on the weekend it was a tough game for any defender. The Eagles were really strong the way they played their footy, and so those guys are under a fair bit of pressure.
How's Fogg's fitness going? Obviously, that was a focus for him over summer. Is that part of the reason why you're moving him into the midfield?
Yeah, we feel like he can play through the midfield. We feel like he's added another string to his bow with, the fitness side of things, and his ability now to be around the football for a little bit longer is something that we're getting a chance to look at that Sandford level. So that's a bonus for us at this point, and we'll continue to work on him as far as patterns and how he can be involved a little more at that level. It's not so much about the fitness. He is showing the ability to go for longer. It's just now a bit of education around the game and how to find the footy more.
Just back to Butts for a moment. So how much has he grown over summer, and obviously maybe touch on his re-signing this morning?
Yeah, well, Butts is a great example of when we talk about the squad. He's now been on the list for 2 and a bit years, and for 2 of those years, he would admit himself he wasn't that close, or didn't feel that close to playing a senior game. But it's incredible how quickly it turns and how quickly your opportunity can show itself. He came back at the start of last pre-season, and it was my first year as a coach, and I thought, well, this kid's got some size. This year he came back even better again, bigger and stronger, fitter, and so he deserves everything that he's getting at the moment. He's rock solid. He's done all his development across a 2-year period. He's learnt from some of the older guys, and he's now been asked to step up, and he's able to do that. So it's really pleasing for the footy club that he's now agreed to sign a couple more years.
Many of your blokes have seen the SCG before?
A few have, yeah. Some of the older guys have. not many otherwise. So we're going to head over a little earlier and we'll train there. We'll train there tomorrow for our captain's run, just to get out and have a look. I'll do a guided tour because I have spent some time there. I look forward to that. Actually, it'd be nice to get back to the SCG.
What's your experience playing there? You know, what can you relate that to how to play the ground and what to about there on the traps?
It's a little bit different to when I played there. They've lengthened the ground from back then. The 50 actually went through the square back in those days. It wasn't black and white telly, but it was close to it. So we'll get back. We'll get out. We'll have a walk around the oval. We'll get a feel for the environment. It's an oval. It's a little bit smaller than most, but I mean ultimately you've just got to bring the contest. And it's not just the oval that does that. It's the team that play there. They're very respected for that reason. It'll be a constant grind. It'll be a contest the whole day. So we'll have to be on.
Last week, took a few people by surprise.
Yeah, just their balance. Their experienced players stood up. Their young guys are super talented. They use the ball really well. They challenged Brisbane for the entire game. So they got the game on their terms and they played some really good footy. So it's going to be a challenge for us, as I said. We look forward to that.
Do you expect the predecessor to have any intel on you guys going into this week's game?
Yep, I would say they've probably got some intel. That's all good.
Well, guys.